So, there was an Irishman, a Catholic, and no, wait. So there was a husky, and a duck, and no, that's not it either. Now I just get started. Hey, Peter, this is Joel. Obviously, it's me. I look a bit homeless right now with the beard and the hat. Chevy trucks, keeping it American, of course, because I've been moving a playground all day. But I wanted to get this done for you because I think what your dad's doing with you is a really cool thing. And you know, your dad just asked me if I could say something to you, and it's kind of funny because I got the email from your dad on must have been Wednesday night late, and Wednesday night at youth group, the topic that I talked on was how to be a real man, or how to be an honorable man, or a godly man, and so it's fresh on my mind. I was definitely thinking about it, and so I just want to share with you a little bit from 2 Samuel, and I'm not actually going to read it to you. I'm going to have you read it, but I want to tell you the story and just tell you why I think it's important real quick. Yes, this comes from 2 Samuel chapter 11, so you should probably read that chapter. But it's a story that'll be very familiar to you. You probably know the story of David and Bathsheba. And the background of the story is, you know, David, who's the king of Israel, who can have anything he wants, sees Bathsheba taking a bath, and that's really kind of our first lesson from this story. If you're going to take a bath outside, you probably want to put up a curtain or something. But so David sees her taking a bath, and she looks good, and he has lust for her, and he basically sins for her, and they have sex, and she sends word to him that she's pregnant. And so David kind of hatches this plan where he's going to kind of cover up his sin, and he's going to get Uriah, who is Bathsheba's husband, to come back, and he's hoping that he'll come back from battle. He's been gone out at battle. He's a soldier, and David's thinking, oh, he'll come home, and he and Bathsheba will have sex, and then the baby will look like it's his. It's all good. Everything will be taken care of. And so he calls Uriah in and asks him how the battle's going, asks him how everything, kind of small talk, chit-chat, you know, and then he says, why don't you go home and wash your feet, and I guess that's the only part he wanted him to wash. I don't know, it's kind of weird, but go home, wash your feet, and then, you know, have sex with your wife, basically is what's implied. And Uriah doesn't. He stays with the king's servants and he sleeps, and David calls him in the next day and says, why didn't you go? And Uriah says, listen, my buddies are out fighting a battle, and the Ark of the Covenant and all of Israel and Judah, they all live in tents. I'm not going to go home to my house when everything else is with that. I'm not going to have this luxury. And so that's the first thing about being a man that I think is important, is that Uriah had integrity. None of his men would have known. He could have gone home and slept in his own bed in his own place, but he had a lot of integrity, and he said, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to remain faithful to my men and to Israel and to God, really. So David's like, oh, that stinks, dude, because that kind of messes up my plan. And so he asked Uriah to stay another day. And that night, he gets Uriah drunk. And I think if you read there, it really is almost implied in the text that somehow the king either manipulated that or almost coerced him, because he's the king, he's got a lot of power, remember? But even when Uriah has had stuff to drink, he won't go back home. David's hoping, oh, he'll get drunk and he won't know what he's doing or whatever. But Uriah still sleeps with the servants. And so that's the second thing. So the first thing is Uriah has integrity, but the second thing is Uriah is consistent. I mean, he's so faithful that even in a state when he could have had an excuse to say, oh, well, I was drunk, guys, I went home, I'm sorry, he just said, no, I'm not going to do it. Even he was so faithful and so consistent that in his life, I believe, that even in that state he was able to not go and not stay home. And so then David says, all right, you can go back to battle, take this letter with you. And so Uriah takes this letter back, and and the letter basically tells Joab, the commander, to put Uriah at the worst part of the battle, where the defenders of the city will be the strongest. And when they come out to meet the Israelites, everybody back away from Uriah, and you leave him alone and allow him to be killed. And so they go into battle. And that's exactly what happens. And the thing about Uriah is that not only did he have integrity, not only was he consistent, but he was faithful. He was a soldier, and soldiers do their job. And even in the midst of treachery, even in the midst of people withdrawing away from him, Uriah stays and fights. I mean, they withdrew. He could have easily ran away, but he doesn't. He stays and fights, even though he's vulnerable, and he's killed for it. And so I guess, Peter, man, if I could just tell you anything about being a man, that is to remember what this guy Uriah did, because in the face of something that would be easier, something that would feel better, something that would save his life, he still chose to do the right thing. And I really think that's what makes a man, is choosing to do the right thing even when everybody else says, oh, just do something else. And so, as you're growing up, man, I really have had such a privilege of, spending time with you. I just want to say, when you look around you and all your friends are blaming other people for their problems, or doing things that you know are wrong, do the right thing, even when it's hard, man. And I hope you have a great time with your dad, and I hope you guys I hope this is a trip you remember.